Crypto DLT with MrConectr. Be sure to subscribe. Hit the notification bell for daily content. Let's go.
Very proud of this. But to simplify it, we've got all these data sources coming from the left. You have some sort of a system or an application, some form of infrastructure that it feeds into. That's where we sign on it. That data is then sent to the cloud. Signed data is sent to our network, and then it's made available as a data analytics offering in any type of your business intelligence workflows. And it produces what we call the smart check mark, which allows somebody a quick eye view to know that it's good. But if they want to click on it, which is the smart piece, they can open it up and they can see the real-time forensic proof from the block explorer ported through, showing data that's meaningful to those individuals on a blockchain. So this is extremely important to just kind of bring this all together that, like, look, the technology today exists, the time is now, and there are entry points happening all over the place when it comes to federal and in the enterprise, but it's just not happening fast enough, and it's super frustrating. But this is the year it happens, right?
This is the year it happens, right? What's up, everybody? It's MrConectr back again for a Friday stream. Today's the first day of summer. Welcome to summer, everyone. How's everybody doing today? We've got Bullish Bird in the chat, Silver Days, Bobby T, and Jeffrey up in here. Thanks, Gary. Good to see you guys, as always. Lots of going on in the world, lots of distractions, lots of turmoil everywhere. We're so divided, guys, and isn't that the point? Wasn't that the goal, to divide us? Divide and conquer using an information war. So it's no coincidence we've got all this going on in the world, if you ask me, at the same time that we're bringing in verifiable blockchain data. And this was a really good excerpt from Constellation Network here. Future-proof compliance. Let me stop my sense from rolling. Cool. Regulatory landscapes evolve, but your data doesn't have to fall out of trust. Digital evidence gives enterprises a foundation for long-term compliance and risk mitigation. Guys, data is going to be proven now. History will be proven. This is the beginning of recorded history. And yeah, you don't get to go there without problems in the world, without fights, without people trying to stay in power. And new companies coming along getting market share in a regulated level playing field that we've never had before. Cryptographically signed immutable records that stand up to audits and legal scrutiny, enable seamless alignment with HIPAA, NIST, ISO, and other global standards, reduces costs and complexity of managing data compliance across sectors, build trust where it matters, and stay ahead of the next wave of regulations. Let's play that again without the distractions while I catch up with the chat.
Very proud of this. But to simplify it, we've got all these data sources coming from the left. You have some sort of a system or an application, some form of infrastructure that it feeds into. That's where we sign on it. That data is then sent to the cloud. Signed data is sent to our network, and then it's made available as a data analytics offering in any type of your business intelligence workflows. And it produces...
So the data lives on the cloud, accessible by cryptographic signatures. Jeffrey wants to know IOTA or ACH or Algo. What's your pick? I'm in Algo and IOTA evenly. I don't have any ACH.
What we call the smart check mark, which allows somebody a quick eye view to know that it's good. But if they want to click on it, which is the smart piece, they can open it up and they can see the real-time forensic proof from the block explorer ported through, showing data that's meaningful to those individuals.
Wow, Web 3 meets Web 2, right? All this data is going to be accessible via blockchain. And that's what AI needs for consensus, right? Cryptographic data. Consensus of truth. That's where we're going. That's what truth is. It's consensus, agreements.
on a blockchain. So this is extremely important to just kind of bring this all together, that like, look, the technology today exists, the time is now, and there are entry points happening all over the place when it comes to federal and in the enterprise, but it's just not happening fast enough, and it's super frustrating. But this is the year it happens, right?
This is the year it happens, right? Cool. Good news coming out of Constellation Network. Guys, don't sleep on that. Let's get to the Conectr coins. Provenance blockchain, that's your mortgage blockchain, right? I looked up on Grok. You know, what are our options once some of these coins take off for us? What's our options for mortgages on chain and using our crypto as collateral for high value real estate? And Grok spit out Provenance was basically the only one that's dealing with higher value crypto mortgage loans. I'm sure Proppy, I haven't looked into that a lot, but I know that they're tokenizing real estate, but I'm not sure if they're putting mortgages and allowing collateral. They probably are. I'm not really sure about that. But I have been concentrating on Provenance because Provenance is leading the way, guys, on RWA, private credit. Let's check in on that Provenance blockchain hash protocol. On that Oasis AMM, it's in the blue there. It's been leading the way the entire time, Provenance blockchain. The company's called Figure, but they have created their own blockchain with their own nodes. We got $10.3 billion in private credit now locked up on Figure. And that's private mortgages with Figure. So they've tokenized their mortgages. Next one is tradable at $2 billion. You can see Figure total loans, $12.7 billion in loans. The total value of investments the protocol has brought on chain. And then the active loans is $10.3 billion. So there's quite a few people using this for their mortgages. Very cool. What's up, Maximum FOMO? Heard someone bring up Peak. Great ecosystem for DeepN. Has 59 projects on it. Wow. Let me look at Peak. Ranked 1,200, 7 cents. Total supply 4 billion. Market cap 308 million. BitGet, Gate.io, delegated proof of stake. We'll add it to the Conectr coins just so we can keep an eye on it. Let's keep it rolling, guys. We've got XPRT up a little bit, XDC barely up. Kind of a flat day overall today. That's all right, guys. We know what we hold. Let's look at the top American cryptos. Past 24 hours, looks like Story IP is leading the way and Helium's coming in second. Let me double check that. Story disappeared. Okay, it's in third now. Okay, Helium SEI is leading again. And Reserve Rights is hanging around. And let's check the categories, crypto categories right quick. Which ones are leading the way? Today, we've got AI memes 6% up with the Trump Grok coin and Parallel EVM leading the way. That's about it on the categories. And today is Friday, the 20th. Let's check out the crypto events calendar while we're here. See if there's anything that we know. Circle CCTP version 2 now live on Solana and enabling fast, secure cross-chain USD transfers. I know you guys have probably used Circle. That's good to have these stable coins to move money around, especially cross-chain. Wouldn't you rather move money around that's stable when you move it from chain to chain? Let's check out the Bitcoin dominance today. And Bitcoin's going up a little bit. 62% on the week chart there. Low 61% earlier this week. Cool, let's knock all this out, guys, so we can get to the news. Total crypto market cap past 6 months, right here's the chart, 3.15 trillion. And what's going on in stock market today? Just seeing if there's anything that pops off big. Google's down a little bit. Amazon's down, relatively flat. Let's keep it going. The Dixie chart, what's going on with the dollar? 98. Relatively flat. Come on, let's go with the commodities. Heating oil's up a little bit, 4%. Gold's at 3,366. Silver's at 36 bucks. And let's get straight to the crypto panic news, guys. You guys are doing great today on this Friday. Who's ready for the weekend? Waves protocol units network raises 10 million as AI blockchain market heats up. Mantle's Tim Chin explains why layer 2 ecosystems are critical despite retail hesitation. Guys, we just like to look through the headlines. If there's something we're interested in, we'll click on it and check it out. But we like to pack in as much data as we can as we stream. Meta-owned WhatsApp enables Bitcoin payments. On I forgot Meta bought WhatsApp. They're using SATI. And it's probably got to be a derivative, right? For Bitcoin to be a payment, it's got to be a derivative of Bitcoin. Somehow, some way. Bank of England maintains interest rates. And we saw where the Federal Reserve came out yesterday, day before yesterday, and kept rates flat. But there's another meeting coming up soon in July, so they could change again. A lot of people are calling for a pivot in July. So maybe we'll start to price that in, factor that in kind of early. We'll see. What's up, Turple? Stay ready so I don't have to get ready. There you go. Always ready. Always prepared. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Try to stay positive out there, guys. We're still in a lawsuit. Can you believe Ripple's still being sued after all these years? Still fighting the government. Of course, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. There's the appeal in the appeals court has been delayed. So, of course, that's going to be delayed while they wait on the district court to rule. So we're waiting for that ruling. And that could come out any day. Torres could drop a ruling any day. And it's mighty quiet right now. So we're hopeful. Just living through this time, guys. Preparing. Visa, MasterCard, our yellow card, push digital dollar use across African countries. Telegram's founder, $17 billion fortune to be shared with 106 children he's fathered. Wow. Telegram's founder has fathered 106 children. Well, there's going to be some rich kids. They have to divide 17 billion. Wow. Maybe he'll put that wealth in some kind of cryptographic escrow. Trump accuses the entire Fed board of sabotage. Reserves blame for ringleader Powell. Yeah, he's been letting him have it, hasn't he? Of course, he's not the guy to blame, really, when you think about it, guys. He's just the figurehead of the owners of the Federal Reserve, right? Does he even own any shares? If you're not an owner, you don't make any calls. So who owns the Federal Reserve? Well, banks other companies own the Federal Reserve. So who owns the banks? There you go. JP Morgan executives warn of overcrowding in the stablecoin market. Yeah, we saw this yesterday. Overcrowding. Yeah, JP Morgan doesn't want too many stablecoins. They don't want that competition, guys. Imagine that. They want to rig the market and keep others out of it. That's all this is. They want us to trust the big four banks and their big stablecoin. And we're democratizing the level playing field at the same time. They can kick and scream all they want, but I think they need to learn how to survive in a level playing field and not on a rigged game, not in a rigged market, right? There's consequences with rigging markets, manipulating markets. There should be. NASDAQ listed healthcare firm opens Bitcoin treasury with $20 million buy. Ripple case nears climax as ex-SEC lawyer hints a final ruling is imminent. We'll believe it when we see it, right? We got to be getting closer. Be a good day for it. Friday, drop it on Friday evening while the markets close. You know, stock markets. But we're 24/7, right? That's right. I hope you guys are doing great today. Let's get it going for this Friday stream. Revealed the Trump family's huge profits from crypto. How dare they try to make a profit? Oh, wow. It kills me to see people hating on other people doing well, right? That's childish. I hope everybody does good, right? That way we all do well together, right? Don't hate on somebody else doing great, guys. Don't covet. Everybody's here for a reason, right? At this moment in time, especially. Solana price prediction stuck in $140. What's holding back Sol from breakout? Telegram's Pavel Durov approved to leave France temporarily. Pepe Wells exit. Pepe Wells exit with losses. Yeah, you're never losing until you sell. Analyst says Bitcoin's $100,000 level is being cemented as the base price for investors. Wow. Bitcoin sure has taken off. 1inch integrates Sonic network for faster, smarter cross-chain DeFi swaps. There's so many cross-chain stuff, projects going on. Sonic network looks like it's one of them. Tim Draper issues a blunt warning on tariffs. What's Tim Draper talking about? Let's check this out. Warns of disruption ahead, urging a shift from tradition to innovation and hard assets. That's what we're doing, guys, holding hard assets. A lot of people don't even think crypto is hard assets. When we're looking at it like there's no counterparty. They don't even think about non-counterparty assets because there's never really been a non-counterparty asset like this stuff. Native to a blockchain, native assets that can't be manipulated. They're not used to that. They're used to trust. They're used to trusting third-party entities. Blind trust. And we see where that's gotten a lot of people throughout the years. Billionaire venture capitalist Tim Draper sees a long looming danger to global trade in the form of former President Trump's tariff policies. He's packaging this as an opportunity for entrepreneurs to shine. He's excited about the opportunities that tariffs open up. And we saw Powell doing nothing but blame tariffs for the non-lowering of the interest rates. I think someone said he had the word tariff in his speech like 30 times. So he's definitely blaming Trump. Like two kids on the playground blaming each other. Oh, wow. These tariffs create massive entrepreneurial opportunities, said Draper. We're already seeing 3D printed shoe manufacturing moving back to the U.S. Companies finding creative routes from China to Indonesia to the U.S. for lower tariffs. Don't forget about 3D printing, guys. Isn't that a good innovation? You know, what if everybody owns a 3D printer, or you've even got these businesses in your town that have a 3D printer where you can go there and get what you need instead of ordering it from China? Maybe the company or the retail person has to pay crypto to access 3D printable instructions for the device. Maybe we can market. Maybe that'll be an investment in the future for us to get into patenting your 3D printable material. You know, it's all going to be on the blockchain. They can access it by stuff like Constellation, where real world data lives on the blockchain, or it lives in the cloud and it's accessible via the blockchain to sign for it, to pay for it, right? So much is possible. Draper's an American investor. He equated today's tariff crisis and tariffs to the time of the 2008 financial crisis, when trust in traditional finance is collapsed, paving the way for Bitcoin. God, look how tall Barron is. Somebody said he was dating Caitlin Clark, the basketball player. Draper, now we have a tariff crisis, and entrepreneurs will create tariff alternatives. Draper believes that each disruption, whether financial or geopolitical, creates an opportunity for innovation. That's right. Money doesn't just disappear, guys. It moves around. Unless it's burned on the blockchain, right? And then it creates value. When it's burned, the tokens that are left over increase in value. That's how this stuff works. So this disruption, whether financial or geopolitical, creates opportunity for innovation, and there's entrepreneurs who identify this disruption and pivot quickly, can create the next defining companies of the decade. Don't forget, guys, who made the money during the gold rush back in the day? The one that sold the picks and the shovels. That's where the real money was made. Draper describes it as an exciting time to be in venture capital, and expresses enthusiasm for seeing fantastic problem solvers turn problems into business opportunities. Guys, a lot of these bigger players in the venture capital game, they'll get into all kinds of ventures. So they might just get into it small. When they started out, they might have just put a little bit here, a little bit there, and one of them hit. So that's what a lot of these guys do. They get into hard assets and companies that are revolutionary. You know, maybe we'll be able to get into something like that in the future. What's up, Lizard King? Tim Draper seeing opportunity. So we're definitely interested in this article. Exciting time to be in venture capital. According to Forbes, as of June 19th, Draper has a net worth of $3.3 billion. He has historically supported frontier technology with his early investments in Tesla, Coinbase, and Bitcoin. And he saw that coming, didn't he? So what's going to be the next one, guys? What's going to be the next company to sell the picks and shovels of the crypto sphere, right? We got to keep our eyes open. We got to connect those dots. And that's why you're watching MrConectr. Let's go. Okay, he also cautioned, Rich Dad here as well, cautioned about economic upheaval and is urging investors to prepare. Draper sees tariff-driven disruption as a launching pad for innovation. Wow, it's coming, isn't it, guys? And the external revenue service. It's amazing what happens when we get somebody in office that actually cares about the American people. Yeah, and you don't have to pay tariffs. No one has to pay tariffs, guys. You don't have to buy those products. The more we buy American, the better. They both emphasize the traditional systems have come to rely on, such as formal schooling and means of achieving employment stability, and centralized commerce routes are unreliable. Centralized commerce routes are unreliable. That's right, we're going to decentralize. That's a good bullish article. Some good words from Tim Draper. Seeing opportunity. That's what we want, guys. Opportunity. And we want to hold these hard assets through the switchover. That's what a lot of people are doing. That's why you have to wait a year now to buy a Rolex from the company, because people are seeing those as hard assets. You know, that's like a painting. Hard assets. And there's no one that's regulating these things, right? It's just value. And it holds its value through any kind of currency resets that we might be going through. We've got X Market News breaking. Both companies announced lawsuits into naked short selling. Stock market is up significantly. Note to CEOs, protect your shareholders. So there's lawsuits coming from these companies. These companies would know if their shares aren't lining up with what's on the books, because they're the ones that issue with them. They own 100% of the shares at inception, and they've divvied them out. They know they can keep track of how many is out there, and they know that they're being counterfeited, guys, which is insane. These companies are taking a stand against naked shorting, and it's about time.
Another one, another one, another one.
All right, we had some Ripple advertisements in Times Square. Look at all that blue. It's happening. Well, that was Prime there in the middle, but Ripple, NASDAQ on the left, and Ripple on the right.
Let's go.
Nice. That from Crypto Barbie. Okay, we had some RLUSD printed this morning. 13 million of them. Minted at the RLUSD Treasury. Looks like that's an Etherscan, so I assume it was minted on Ethereum. Which that's kind of like a for Ripple going into Ethereum. To me, that's kind of infiltrating it a little bit, you know, bringing that value into that ecosystem, so that, because you know, there's a lot of companies into Ethereum, a lot of companies using it, and it's kind of like a way of infiltrating, I feel. You know, maybe they'll feel comfortable using it on the XRP ledger one day. We shall see. What's up, Evan? Draper's father was friends with a Rothschild in World War II, and they bought Silicon Valley for his father to start what we know today, also known as Tim the Dragon Draper. Wow. That's cool. That's interesting because he's always kind of like a freedom guy to me. I've always liked him. So that's cool that we've got a little bit of common sense in Silicon Valley, for sure. 100% Illuma. He bears the dragon crest. Oh, wow. He was the prince. He is now the king of Silicon Valley, and they all answered to Tim Draper. Wow, I didn't know he was that important. Good connection, Evan. Right on. Smoke Dog's posting official Swift blockchain reveal upcoming blockchain announcements, ISO standards November 2025 upgrade. As you can see with the ISO illustration below, the November release will include a blockchain cash wallet as a feature for these ISO messages. These messages have never had value inside of them, guys. There's just messages. And now they've got a blockchain cash wallet where digital currencies are mandated. So Swift paper standards, MT releases in 2025. Discussion paper in minutes. It's got a standards illustrations, securities, settlement transaction version 12. It's showing instruction details, delivering settlement parties, receiving settlement parties, cash parties, the debtor, identification, party ID, alternative ID, cash account, identifier, and then blockchain cash wallet, and then the blockchain address wallet. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's like 4 mentions of the actual wallets in this transaction settlement example here. Blockchain wallet where digital currencies are maintained. This is the equivalent of cash account for digital currencies. Wow. A digital ledger. Here's another one. The account owner, safekeeping account, blockchain address or wallet. Wow, Swift is diving into this stuff. Safekeeping place, identifier, country code, digital ledger identifier. Going through all the processes, cross element simple rule, settlement parameters, depository ID, back to the digital ledger identifier. Looks like they're going to be using this stuff, guys. There's a rare interview with William Henry Draper III, and Tim sitting beside him and tells it all. Okay. Wow, I bet that's a good one. Was Tim Draper the character on the Mad Men? That was Don Draper. That was a good show, Mad Men. Fed's Waller says interest rates cuts could begin as early as July. Maybe it's all timing up just right for us, guys. That's what it feels like. DAI posted this about price prediction. This is Tecorium's ETF. Tecorium, I think they were the first non-spot XRP ETF in the country. That's already been running on your brokerage firm right now. That's up and running, I think, for a couple months now, probably. Let's see what kind of price prediction he's given.
Again, the questions we get from investors is, when's the price going to go up? That's what everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
Well, the only way that we can figure that out, and we have a 22-page paper that's not public yet. I got to figure out how to do that our analysts did And he went over all the legitimate pricing models for XRP. And again, it came to between $5 and $4,300, depending on your timing and your use case. For me, it's supply, demand, and velocity. So if it takes 5 seconds to settle a transaction, how many XRP did that use? Can you really do it 12 times a minute? Can you really do that 24 hours a day? So how much XRP do you really need? Those are all basic questions that need to be answered for the velocity models. And that'll happen over time. We are...
Wow, that's pretty in-depth there. That makes a lot of sense, velocity models. The stuff's moved so fast and so quick and efficient and liquid that you can reuse it. How many times a day can you reuse it? And how many times a week, a month?
Literally still in a nascent industry. We're all sitting here. This is going to get bigger every single year.
How many gas fees is that going to create? How many token burns using it that fast, that many times?
But the usage of XRP, the use case of the Ripple ledger is, I think, probably exploding from what you're talking about here. All of that is going to help. And then as arbitrageurs come in to get rid of those price differentials so that things can trade more easily, it's just going to take time, but it's going to happen. And things happen, little things like taking advantage of money, that happens faster than you think. When people want to make money, that happens faster than you think. When you're trying to change an entire infrastructure and a way of doing business, which is what we're talking about here, ultimately, that happens slower than you think. So give it time, but it's happening.
All right, there you heard it. Give it time, it's happening. But I thought he was going to give a price prediction, but the AI says up here we have a 22-page paper in quotations that's not publicly, that's not public yet. That's our analyst, that our analyst did. He went over all the legitimate pricing models. It came to be between $5 and $4,300. Wow, kind of a wide range there, but gosh, there's a lot depending. Price depends on so much. Where is it going to be used at? What if it captures a lot of the derivatives market, right? What will it all be used for? Which chain will we use for what? Callie posted earlier, Metallicus is years ahead of the game while others scramble to meet Genius Act requirements. Metal blockchain already checks every box. Reminder to those who don't know, Metallicus is BSA AML compliant. It's a regulatory first design with all the tokens. They've got the metal dollar, the layer 0 metal blockchain coin, the XPR network, layer 1, the loan protocol token, and the stablecoin, the XMD, the basket of stablecoins. It's all moving to metal. No word yet on when the migration will be, but the XPR layer 1 will be moving to the layer 0 soon. Waiting on an update from Marshall about that. This isn't just blockchain hype, it's future-proof infrastructure ready to run the new financial system. When the world finally catches up, Metallicus will already be running it. Very bullish system, guys. Don't sleep on this. Not financial advice. Lizard says all bets are covered. Nice. Yeah, this is a, you know, you don't want to miss out on some things once you're aware of it. So that's me. That's me and where I'm at now with Metallicus. I'm covered just in case. Been following that system for a few years now. I love everything's come out about it. And Marshall himself, guys, that's a patriot. We don't see many patriots leading these CEO companies. They're all playing nice, you know, too scared to say a lot, you know. But look at Marshall right here, just 2 days ago. It is, look at American flag behind that logo. Nice. CEO of Metallicus. It has become abundantly clear that Republicans and Democrats are bought and paid for by private and foreign interests. Wow, when's the last time you seen somebody say that? The will of the people is ignored. I officially declare a new political party based on the principles of sovereignty, freedom, and truth called the Doge Party. Nice. You know, Marshall helped develop the first Doge wallet back in the day. And then he helped Jeb McCaleb start Stellar. So he's a big Doge fan, just like Elon. And Doge does run feeless on the XPR network. Marshall says, the rules of Doge Party are simple. We believe that outside interests should not meddle in the affairs of we the people. The Doge Party was incepted in the United States of America, but is encouraged to be replicated around the world. Through making government accountable, we trim waste, fraud, and corruption. Doge Party members will never accept outside funding from political action committees. Nice. And non-governmental organizations or foreign governments. Yeah, that's big right there. We stand sovereign and represent the people. Doge Party representatives and candidates will put all of their policies and decisions on blockchain on the XPR network for their party to publicly see and vote. And that's already going, guys, on the XPR network. There's all these mock-up votes for the country where people that have web-auth wallets can go in and vote on decisions like Fat Tony's already came up with several good proposals of like gold standard for the money and voting and things like that, things that could actually fix the country. If a Doge Party candidate votes or goes against the votes of its constituents, then they can no longer be considered Doge, part of the party. With that being said, it's time for the party to cast its very first vote, potentially one of the most critical votes in human history to determine the fate of mankind and nations, and what may very well could be WW3. You know, this is the one, should America go to war with Iran? So there's a vote up for that right now. I guess we can see the score. If it'll load. Now this is true democracy. It's not wanting to load. Gov.xpr network. Never had a problem before with it. All right, let's see. What else do we have? That's not loading. Anyway, let's keep it going, guys. Love Marshall. What a patriot. To be very vocal about it too, guys. When did it get so wrong to be patriotic, right? And hold the flag. What's up, Evan? Hester sees danger when she sees the Ford Ranger. Watch out for that Ford Ranger. Stranger danger. Smoke Dog. Fed now will be much more akin to Fed Wire from everything I see. Listen closely. This must be a problem with my internet. Things not loading. I'm probably glitching out. Yep. I'm stalled. Oh, wow. I just lost all my screens. Okay. Give me a second here. Where did I go?
Start us off, Scott, real quick.
I'll just say real quickly that when, if you're doing a Signet transaction, then you could be transferring, as I said, anywhere from subsidiaries, counterparties. But if you want to go off of that rail and you want to now transfer to a non-client of Signature Bank, you need to access currently the Fed Wire system or some other rail, ACH. FedNow would actually be a big help to allowing much faster much faster switching from a Signet environment to transferring to some other non-client entity.
But what would be the advantage of the Signa over FedNow if FedNow does 24/7?
I think there's going to be I think that there will be, I don't think FedNow will probably be used for sort of individual, my sense is it's not going to be used in the same way for mass individual transactions. It'll be much more akin to FedWire from everything I can see.
I don't think very much for us.
FedNow will be much more akin to FedWire. FedWire running instant.
I'm sorry. I don't see it as being a big change. We're integrated with obviously a number of firms.
No changes.
And we go through their payment gateways. So for us, we would pass from
same
our
gateways
to the existing,
just more efficient, faster routing, right?
firms' payment gateways, and then they'll take it through to the FedNow.
Whichever fintech they're using, or the company you're dealing with, whichever the one service provider they use to connect to FedNow, that money goes into FedNow's pool. They're not just going to send it directly to the receiver. They're going to go through FedNow's pool before it goes to the receiver. And it's all pretty fast. I've used Uphold. I think Uphold uses FedNow already to send to my bank. And I can hit, you got to pay an extra fee. I don't know why that is. I guess it's because we hadn't really put all this stuff in place yet where we can get these fees down. But you can send from Uphold to your bank account, and you can hit the button to send it, and it shows up in just a couple seconds. I think it's less than a minute. I think it's way faster than that, actually. What's up, Makesman? MoriCoin offers unique rewards for active users. The MoriCoin team. Hadn't heard of that one. Mori, M-O-R-I. What's up, D Cartel? And Joseph? Good to see you guys. FedWire also runs Volante powered by Ripple. Oh, yeah. That's right. There's definitely that Ripple option.
Yeah, we would see a benefit from it, from the ability to pay out in the U.S. instantly. So this would be a key advantage in speed for all of our overseas customers that are paying into the U.S., pending the scheme rules allowing for international transfers to be dispersed over it. So that, I think, is a key goal. I understand the importance of launching it prudently, just domestic. That's rational. But as that system matures, to expand to international.
Just another.
Rolling out domestically and will expand internationally. What he just said. Federal Reserve trying to stay relevant. They have to. They had to make a move to stay relevant. This account here is called @BaronT News. Cash Patel sounding the alarm on the Federal Reserve. He's urging everyone to wake up and realize the Fed isn't a public institution. It's a private entity run by the elite robber barons who built this. They are rigging the currency game for their own gain. Yep, they sure are. It's time to fix it, guys. Nothing gets fixed unless this gets fixed, right? You can do whatever you want to and change anything you want to, but nothing really gets fixed without this, without changing the money. Bring it back to American money, true American money, backed by American assets.
So I think we got to educate people that the Federal Reserve is not a public government entity. It's a private entity owned by the robber barons that started this country, who manipulate the currency to their advantage. And that needs to be tackled. Again, I'm not the economic guru. I just know it's a problem. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what the solution is, but it needs to be addressed. So I think we got to educate people.
It sure does. So what are they doing to address it? I'm not sure when this was, probably before he got in office, of course. Five Blue says, Grok, what are some solutions to the interest-bearing debt system? Continue to accrue perpetual debt. Problem is total debt owed is always greater than the total amount issued. Grok says the interest-bearing debt system where money is created through loans with interest, created out of thin air, guys. It can lead to perpetual debt as the total owed exceeds the total money issued. Here's some solutions Grok's come up with. Here we go, debt jubilees. Historically used in Mesopotamia, canceling debts could reset imbalances, but risks undermining financial trust. Yeah, a lot of people think that's just a conspiracy, debt jubilee, but it was historically used. Why couldn't they reset all the balances? You know, the world owes the world all these trillions of dollars. So why couldn't they just cancel out a bunch of that debt and agree upon something, and whatever's left over, agree upon a way to, tokenize that debt and use it as value somehow. Number 2, zero low interest rates. Japan's approach shows this can manage debt, but it may cause inflation or asset bubbles. Well, that's true pricing. Everybody's scared of true prices. That's supply and demand right there. It may cause inflation or asset bubbles. You go back to zero debt or zero interest rates, low interest rates. Guys, why does it cost so much to borrow fake money? We're living in a system that we have got to overcome somehow. They've got a monopoly on us, a money monopoly. We need alternative systems. So there you go. That's why we've been attracted to this stuff. Sovereign money or asset-based economies could replace debt reliance, but scaling them is untested and may lower growth. Wow, I love all three of these. Debt jubilees, low interest rates, and alternative money systems. That's why we're here. This is exactly what we're betting on. No need to go any further. Show's over. This is it right here. As a matter of fact, I am going to call it early today. Get ready for the weekend. Lizard King says we freshly minted XRP millionaires start secretly paying off mortgages. They will say Jubilee. Yeah. I'm ready for it. Let's see what happens. This is it, though. This will solve it. We just have to have people in place and to get over this hump. We have to change the money. We need non-counterparty digital assets, native digital assets that are the most trusted. Not all this funny money. Guys, you have a good weekend. MrConectr's out of here. Gonna get it started early. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Peace out.